Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Connor Cardenas. And per usual, before we get into it, I just want to make sure that you guys are heading on over to caffeineandgreenroasting.com today for all of your coffee needs. That's right. You can get any of the amazing coffees that are already available, which of course I'm talking about that Issa Blend, that Morning Sesh, or that Victory Lab. All amazing coffees that have been around for quite some time. But now, as of next week on Friday, October 22nd of 2021, we are dropping the new, highly anticipated Notorious coffee, which is inspired by none other than the Notorious B.I.G. You know, we keeping a theme over here. You know what's popping, y'all. So, it's a new single origin Costa Rican coffee. It's very sweet. It's strawberry, caramel, and black currant. And it's very berry forward, and it's the lightest roast that we've done for Caffeine and Green. So I'm very excited to share it with y'all, and I cannot wait for you guys to sip on it. So head on over to caffeineandgreenroasting.com today to pick up any of those coffees that I just mentioned. Also, if you want, you can get any Caffeine and Green merch that you'd like, you know, the windbreakers, the Leov Clockley's hoodie, or any of the t-shirts that we have readily available left on the website. Also, we have 2 new shirts that we're going to be dropping along with that Notorious launch. And it's going to be a new OG logo, but in navy. And we also have a Sugar Skull t-shirt, again, which is just like the hoodie that we had inspired by Leov. And we're going to do it in a t-shirt form this time. So, like I said, guys, head on over to www.caffeineandgreenroasting.com for all your caffeine and green needs. Next, I just want to make sure that you guys are heading on up to Steel Mill Coffee in Oceanside, California. That's right. Your boy's roasting that coffee, and I love it. I cannot be just so – I'm just so excited, guys. I cannot be more hyped. If you guys have not been here yet, cruise on in. It's on both sides of the 5, whether it's north, whether it's south. Cruise on in off of Mission Ave in Oceanside, California. Stop in. It's Steel Mill Coffee. And any of my homies, of course, I'm talking about Joel, Giles, Anna, Shay, myself, Riley. You head on in here, get a cup of coffee, say what up, listen to some records, get some records, whatever. Come in, say what up to everybody at Steel Mill Coffee. I know they'd be extremely excited. So, Steel Mill Coffee, Oceanside, California. Get here today. All right. My guest today is just a super rad individual, very unique. I had a great conversation. This conversation was a little bit over 2 hours. And man, you know, when those conversations happen, I just have to say it's something else. It's a pleasant surprise, I have to say. And of course, I'm talking about my man, Matt Pryor. He started off as a coffee roaster, self-taught. He was a poker player and a avid climber. And I'm talking about some big ass rocks. That's right. But more importantly, the reason I got him on the show today is because he's a coffee roaster, self-taught. He also was a mentor to one of the most frequent guests on Caffeine and Green, Siri Simmerin. So, guys, it was a great conversation. And at the end, it got a little bit deep. I mean, we got on some life shit. You know what I'm saying? It was a great conversation. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did because it was a surprise and it was freaking rad. So, without further ado, my man, Matt Pryor. This is your time to shine, homie. Let's go. Give me caffeine and green. It's your boy Connor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and green. And we're live. Matt Pryor.
Hello.
Welcome to Caffeine and Green. Sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Got you. Right there. Yes, sir. Dude, so like I said, get right into it. Damn, that tastes like a Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, it's super good.
Dude, I love that. The watermelon tahini can never go wrong. This is my favorite beer, like hands down of all time.
It's super good. I I sold coffee to Booze Brothers years and years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was like 5 years ago. They would buy it when they were making some cold brew to just serve out of their
Vista location?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that was like 5 years ago now. So.
Did you see it? That's right across the street right here.
I saw that. I haven't been in there yet, so.
Dude, that's literally, it's kind of like it's my spot.
Is it?
Dude, I fucking love everything about it. Right when I got here, I didn't even see Shay, one of the owners. He was standing out front, and then like Lanny was there, Tom, this other dude Colin, and then this dude Milton. They're like all skateboarders. But they were all sitting out front. I was like, oh, didn't even see you guys. And then like walk in, and like Billy's like the normal guy who's there, and the regular beer tender, and it's just funny. It's like Oceanside is such a small community. Everybody knows everybody here, and like Billy's watching the game and like buying some beers, and it's just like, you know, you can literally, it feels like Cheers. Like you walk in there and like without fail, somebody you know will walk in and grab a beer at some point, and if
Definitely.
like if they're not with somebody else, or even if they're with other people, they'll sit right next to you, and then you end up fucking kicking it for like hour and a half.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about Oceanside is how many good local beer, coffee, culinary like businesses are in here, and they're just locally owned, like people from the community who just kick ass at what they do.
Yeah,
it's all here. I think it's still a little bit underground, but it's starting to become more well known than it used to be. So,
well, dude, that's the thing. It's there's also a TV show which I'm not really familiar with because I don't watch TV too much, but I have heard about it, and I've been told to move out in front of the shop one time when I was like parked to go get ready to roast. This dude comes up, he's like, "You can't park here." I was like, "Fuck, I can't park here." I was like, "I work at the shop. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "We're filming a TV show." I was like, "So?" And like I was giving the dude total attitude. And then Riley comes out and he was like, "Oh, dude, they're filming like Animal Kingdom." I was like, "What, like Discovery Channel?"
Okay.
And they were like, "No, it's like a show on, I think it's on Hulu or something like that. But I guess it's like super popular, and it's based here in Oceanside."
Right.
And they were filming at Rosewood right across the street. And like you could see Steel Mill in the back and shit. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Well,
but I was like,
hopefully you got some free advertising out of it or something. Maybe it made the show.
So apparently I think it just came out, or it came out recently or something, somewhere along those lines. And because people have told me about it as well, and I was telling Shay, and he's like, "Oh, I'm promoting that shit." And I was like, "Why?" I was like, "It's not tight." And he was like, "Dude, they're literally in," like he said he watched part of the clip in the show, and he's like, "They're literally talking shit, not about Steel Mill itself. Like you can see it clear as day. You could see Steel Mill, but they didn't block it out. They were like, I can't even recognize it around here anymore. There's fucking coffee shops everywhere and shit." And it's just like, and indirectly, I guess they're like talking shit about how things are like gentrifying, if you will, or something like that.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, he's like, "Nah, fuck that." But that's very Steel Mill. It's very like, it's very skateboarder. Like if you're not showing love, fuck out of here kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about like Oceanside has changed. I grew up in Oceanside.
Did you really?
More inland. I wasn't in like coastal or South O or anything like that, but more inland part of Oceanside. But I lived there from when I was 7 years old until I was 21. And
wow.
You know, I've seen like the big changes that come in here. You know, obviously like the massive hotels that are down there, which is just a trip, because that used to be a skate park, and homeless people mainly was that whole like 9-lot area there that is now crazy. And you know, whether you want to say it's good or bad, I think the rest of Oceanside has maintained its character. I think it's still stayed very local focused. So there's other areas that I think have changed over the years that haven't kept their local characteristics. So hopefully Oceanside is able to hold on to that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't doubt it. I mean, there's so many people here that, I mean, it's funny because, you know, especially not being from here, but I've lived in San Diego now for, I think, 13 or 14 years now. And I've lived in North County. I've lived down in down in San Diego area. Carlsbad is so completely different from Oceanside. And, I mean, from the first couple times I've come into Oceanside, I remember, like, the first experience I had here, I was at the Poorhouse. With Shay, ironically. I mean, not ironically, because it's like, why would I be there kind of thing, I guess. And I was with Shay, and there was just this big dude. He just looked like a fucking football player.
Right.
Scary looking guy.
Yeah.
And this dude just kind of like standing there, like waiting. I was outside smoking a cigarette. And he jumps over the back, like over the Poorhouse. He like jumps over into the back area, and he's just sitting there. He's like hiding behind us. And me and my ex were standing there, and he's just like, hey, just don't tell anybody. Just don't tell anybody we're here. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, cool, bro. Like whatever. And then after, you know, a couple minutes, he goes on, and then he like is making his way through. But of course, he knows everybody in the back area. Everybody.
Right.
And he's like sitting there, he's like, oh, let me get a cigarette from somebody. And like somebody gives him a cigarette, and he's like, oh, let me get a beer. And then like somebody hands him his beer, and like he's just cruising. And then here comes the bouncer, and he's just like, bro, I told you can't be in here tonight. He's like, dude, you're not even from here, man. I'm fucking from South O. I grew up here. He's like, dude. And he's like talking loud enough, so everybody's like, you punched out the bartender 2 days ago. And the guy was like, "Fool, he's not from here either." And I was just like, listening to this dude's logic was so ridiculous. But then he's like, "You got to go." He's like, "Dude, you really going to make me cause a scene right now?" It's like, dude, no, you just need to get the fuck out of here. Like, that's what the bouncer was like. They're going back and forth, and finally just, all right, bro. But because it was only a couple days ago, I'll leave. But like, I'm coming back. And it was just like, wow, this is Oceanside, man. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, especially in South O, it's a lot of families who have just been here for a long time and have deep roots in that neighborhood, and they're trying to protect it. And I understand that. I completely understand not wanting it to get completely gentrified, not wanting it to get completely like turned into kind of Encinitas has lost a lot of its character over the last 10 years.
That makes sense.
So I see where that was, but I don't know about punching out bartenders. I think
no, that was definitely like
it's going over the line.
Circumstantial, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say, again, as I've spent now, it's been about a year I've been spending time in Oceanside, like very, week, like not even weekly. I would say like daily. I'm here almost out of a given week. I'm probably here 4 to 5 days a week now for over a year. And I don't live here, but because I'm here so much, I'm starting to finally like get in the ebb and flow of this community. And I will say, as I'm starting to learn more about it, I'm learning like its little quirks and how fucking cool it is. Like the Finn Hotel over here.
Yeah.
Finding out about that history and what they've done to kind of revamp it. And then like they have like a little roaster there now and like a little fucking bar. And like they talk about the original building and stuff. It's like, oh, that's not the hotel itself, but the original building and what it means and how long it's been there. It's like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was watching I don't know, like a 30 for 30. It was about Junior Seau.
Right.
I didn't even know he was from here.
Yeah.
I knew he was from San Diego, but I didn't know to what extent he meant to the city.
Yeah.
Like from north to all the way down to Chula. Like he went to Oceanside High School, literally right up the street from here, on the same street. And he played at high school, then he went to USC, and then he comes back and gets drafted by the Chargers.
Yep.
And then he had like Sau's down Mission Valley.
Yeah.
And dude, ironically, his head chef, I forgot his name, but his last name is Goswillinger. And that is my homegirl Lo's dad. And then I'm friends with his kids. So Austin and Lauren got married me. Like when I got married to my ex.
Oh wow.
She was the officiant. So like I knew her dad, and like they were like, "Oh yeah, you used to be like the head chef at Sau's." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." And then I'm watching 30 for 30 and there he is. I was like, "Oh shit, son." Like I didn't understand to what extent it was. So it's like San Diego as a whole is just so community based, and then you tie it all back together and it's like Oceanside. It's like, whew, small world, man. Yeah. Fucking love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, digress from the actual point of why you're here today. So you, sir, you are the owner of Ghost Roasts.
Correct.
Now, is this is it only e-commerce? Is it wholesale? Is it actually ghost roasting? Because that's for people who don't know, who aren't coffee roasters. I feel like the common term. It's either private label or ghost roasting for people who don't necessarily roast for themselves, but they'll have like a brand and they want to slap their label on your coffee.
Correct. Yeah. So the main point of the business is working with people who want to have their own coffee brand, but either don't want to do the work they themselves, or don't have the time for it, or whatever reason it doesn't make sense for them to do it themselves. We basically just offer them an A to Z option of like, hey, come in, let's brand some bags, let's work on, find some coffees that work well for you, let's roast it how you want to roast it, and then kind of put together a whole product for them. Is kind of the main part of the business. And yeah, it's been super fun. Done like projects for like coffee shops, done projects for rock bands. That was probably like one of my favorite ones. And then just like corporate gifts where people are like want to give a gift that actually someone wants, because people only need so many pens or pads or t-shirts or tote bags, and so people have used it for that. So it's for my personality, it's just something that kind of made sense, because I'm more of a behind the scenes guy. I've
Yeah.
never wanted to have my own coffee shop at all. It just has never appealed to me personally.
Nice.
So it was always just like, I like roasting, and I do have an actual brand that I'm going to launch at some point. But the whole idea of just like roasting and doing stuff for other people for their projects just really made a lot of sense for me.
So what sparked that? I mean, because like I want, before we get too far into, like, I know a little bit about your history as a roaster and what you've done and who you've worked for and who you've mentored. But before we get into that, so like what sparked going that direction? I mean, doing that just solely for people, I'm assuming you already had like a customer base that were inquiring about doing this, so that it made it profitable for you in a sense.
Yeah, I think it was just knowing where I was currently at. Like, my time was up there, and not a negative situation. It was a very positive, happy ending at that employment. But just knowing I wanted to go on to something else, and just I didn't have a spark. Like I said, I didn't want to have a spark to want to do a shop ever, and I didn't have a spark at the time for wanting to have my own brand at all. I just didn't really have something like. I think one of the things that's important with coffee is your brand needs to have a very distinctive personality. It's something where you need to be like, this coffee brand appeals to this person. And for myself personally, I'm like, I don't have anything that like I necessarily want to put out there at this point in time. And so then I started talking to people and kind of throwing around the idea, and it just like, I'm like, this kind of makes sense. Let's see if people are interested in it. So going beyond maybe just the strictly white labeling or anything like that, but giving people this kind of like all-encompassing, like, we'll go from A to Z, custom everything kind of thing, instead of just like, hey, we're already roasting this, we're gonna throw it in our package and we'll put it out the door. So yeah, it's been a lot of hard work, but also very fun at the same time. So
How long have you been doing this?
Ghost Roast has been around for a little over about 3 years. Yeah, coming up on 3 years.
Wow.
So
okay, and that, like, I mean, I'm assuming as a business owner, it was probably a lot harder in that first year, and then as you've, as the years have passed, you're starting to like develop more of a clientele. And
yeah, definitely the first year's hardest, because it's like you're testing an idea, right? You don't know if like this will actually work. Do people actually want this thing? I think people want it, but like, can we do this? Can we be competitive at it? Because there are other people who do this. There's people that they have massive roasteries that do private label coffee roasting only, and being a small business, you could never compete with them price wise. So like, be able to figure out this idea of like, how do we price this right? And attract clients versus these other guys that could just undercut you to the very bottom. And then I want to say the last 2 years have been, easy street, but it's like, COVID, man. Like it's
fucking A.
It's made it difficult for everyone. I think, there's just there's been a constant learning process, hurdles. Some of our clients shutting down. We did stuff with offices, we did stuff with some shops, we did stuff with the people who are just like, hey, we're closed down now. So it's suddenly like that income stream shuts down. You're like, all right, so how do we kind of come up with something new to like keep things moving along, get through the coffee that we're contracted for and stuff like that. But now things are good. Now that I think we've reached some kind of homeostasis with COVID and things being open and stuff like that, like it's definitely back on the path towards stability, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah, man. That's dope. I mean, to that point, I think for COVID, I mean, I just launched Caffeine and Green as a roasting brand. The podcast itself is, I think, coming up on 3 years. But the roasting aspect of it had launched in July of last year during COVID. And then I launched, like, the official launch was October 1st of last year. Like, my coffee is available to the public and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that first year, I mean, I don't know. It was very profitable.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that nobody was out there buying coffee from like a cafe. Right. It was everybody was staying at home. So it was actually really, really nice. I think almost opposite of what you're saying. For me, it was now I had to pivot because now people are going back to their cafes. I mean, me myself, we're here in Steel Mill. So I'm always pumping Steel Mill as well. And then if I'm in North Park, I'm always going to Hawthorne because my friends work there.
Right.
So it's like even me myself, I can understand why. But then I have I do have my clients who are just like, nope, send me a 5-pound bag. I got this. Like we have, a family and this, that, and this, what we do. So it's definitely been
5-pound bags are sweet.
Oh, dude.
Oh, love that.
That's a lot of what my clients are now.
Yeah.
Swear to God. It's hella funny. I love it. I will never not be stoked on it. Even one of my fighters, David Grostic, he's the dude you were commenting on. He was in his fight.
Those kicks I don't want to take that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. David has some good David's gnarly. David is like really good at jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
And then we also have the same striking coach. So we're on the same striking team.
Gotcha.
So Perusa, shout out. But he goes through coffee so much, and his mom, it was so funny. I met his mom at that competition, and they both just like, oh, thank you so much for the coffee, all super stoked. But it's like now it just give him 5-pound bags because I used to give him like 2, and he's like, dude, we're going through it too fast now. It's like, oh, fuck. The whole family's drinking Caffeine and Green. It's like, oh, fuck yeah, son.
That's amazing.
But okay, so you do ghost roast. You're doing these things. Things are good for you now. But let's bring it back a little bit because the reason I knew about you, that I found out about you, was Siri Simran, a person who's been on the podcast multiple times. I think one of the longest standing guests on Caffeine and Green since its inception. And she had, dude, I don't remember if it was like the first episode she did, because she was like within the first 20 episodes, I think. She had mentioned you. She's like, do you know who Matt is? And I was like, Matt who? And she was like, Matt Pryor. He used to be, is it going to bother you if I say Lofty?
No.
Okay.
Of course not, no.
Yeah. She was like, no, she's my mentor, or he was my mentor at Lofty. And now he's been doing his own thing and he left. And now that it's just me. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait. And then so I ended up meeting you at the roastery.
Right.
So that's how I was like, oh shit. Like finally. Because Siri has talked about you multiple times, especially when we get into like roasting conversations.
Oh, okay. Hopefully nice things.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, one thing on one of the most recent podcasts that she did, I'm a big advocate for having mentors.
Right.
Much like she had your mentor, like having you as her mentor to teach her how to do things, or like to know what to look for, rate of rise, like the Maillard reaction, doing these things like roasters don't know how to do who are self-taught. And we have a constant conversation. I don't want to say debate or argument because it's not like that. It's just like a different opinions and a conversation that's ever evolving about like, so what do you think about, because I have consulting jobs now. I do consulting for multiple different clients.
Nice.
And they will be like, we love that you're always saying you need a mentor. And I'm like, yeah, man, like I would love to teach you how to do these things and just help you, like show you how to do roast profiles, show you what crops are what you're looking at, show you, when you see like black spots on like a yellowing bean in there, it's like, oh, yo, that's too hot. Like you got to be looking out for these things. But most roasters, they don't understand who are self-taught about that. And she was like, yo, Matt's a self-taught roaster. I was like, what?
Yep.
So, I mean, like that was the one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about is like, what got you into roasting? How did you learn how to do it by yourself? And then you get to a point where you're like, how many shops did Lofty have when you were there?
When I started, it was just the cafe, and then the roasting place across the street had just opened.
Justin Encinitas.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing else. And then I left. There was, I think there's four or five. I think we opened 2 while I was there, and now they've opened 2 more. They're killing it. So,
yeah. So you're self-taught roaster. You
Correct.
end up, was Lofty your first roasting job?
Correct. Yeah. So I started. I guess my story of how I got into coffee was I was doing other work that where I was making good money, but I hated it. Yep. And near the end, I enjoyed it at first. I played poker for a living, and it was something where I made a lot.
Wait, what? You played? That's what you did for a living before roasting?
Yeah, for about 3 years.
Okay.
Which was, it's fun, right? Because you literally get to play a game for a living, right? But
were you professional?
Yeah, I mean that was all my income came from that. Like wow. Yeah, I actually played right up the street, Ocean's 11 Casino, right up the street from here. Yeah, I was there 50 hours a week for a few years, which is
50 hours.
It varied. There was some weeks where it was significantly less, which was nice. And near the end, it was a lot less because I was just so burnt out on it.
Wow.
And it's something where if you know what you're doing, and especially back then, there's good money to make in it. And, I did well, but it became a point in my life where I was like, I hate this. Like, all I do is take from people. Like, when I am successful, I am taking more from other people. And, there'd be people, you'd come in there and a lot of regulars, right? So you'd come in and you'd see a guy and you'd know what they do for a living. You're friendly with them and stuff like that. They probably make like $70,000 a year or something like that. And they come in there and they lose $1,000 a week playing poker. And you're like, I'm causing pain on these people. You don't know someone's financial situation, but I'm like, you do the math. You're like, you have a wife and kids. How can you afford to do this? You don't know. And it kind of got to me to where I would think about that. And also it's just like, it's a poor lifestyle, a lot of late nights and stuff like that, to where it was just time to find something new. And I barely even drank coffee at the time. I drank a lot of Red Bulls. But I walked into a coffee shop in Leucadia called Coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah, I used to live right down the street.
Okay. Because I lived there too. I lived in Leucadia for about 5 years.
I lived right off of Jason. So you know where Hagos is? Like Hagos, and then there's like
the
Japanese,
old Hagos or the new Hagos?
I guess it would be the new Hagos. So if here's coffee, and then you go down and there's like Biri, or whatever that fucking place is called. Then you go down just a couple more blocks. It's like the post office is right there.
Right. Yeah.
So you could go, like, if you could make a left at the post office in that one little alley right behind the French cafe, like right there, I lived in that alleyway. But we had then there's like that at the other end of that block, there's that restaurant there that's always changing. It's like a pizza spot now, but it was a Japanese restaurant when I lived there.
Oh yeah.
It was literally right behind that used car dealership that was there.
Yeah.
That first house right behind there, it was like a pretty decent sized house, and I lived there for about 3 years. And so it was like, and then Hagos was like right there on the corner that you could see it like right from my door. Yeah. So I lived, but yeah.
We were neighbors then.
Fuck yeah.
I lived off Grandview for a while, and then I moved over towards next to Mosey's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. I loved Mosey's. Dude, R.I.P. to that spot.
I know. No, I lived 2 houses away from it, and so when it caught on fire, I literally walked out of my house. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, you were living there when that happened?
Yeah. I got a video on my phone somewhere of the fire. It was gnarly walking out to it. So yeah, the thing went up fast.
Dude, El Special Norte, Especial Norte. That's my spot for the pozole. Son, stop it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I went to Coffee, and I got a coffee one morning because I was just like, my normal schedule was wake up at like 11 o'clock, noon, 1 p.m., because I'd be up till 4 in the morning playing poker. And I walked down to Coffee, grabbed a coffee, and I tasted it. I'm like, wow, this is good. Like, why is this so much better than any coffee I've had before, right? Mm-hmm. And I looked in the corner. I saw the coffee roaster in the corner. I'm like, what is that thing? And I talked to the person. They're like, oh, it's a coffee roaster. They here on Saturdays. They roast the coffee here. And so I went down and I started talking with Dan, who started Revolution Roasters.
I was gonna say that's Revolution's roaster, right?
Yeah. That was. I think they have a new space now to roast, but they were roasting out of there on his Probot for a very long time, and super friendly guy. He's just very like engaging and stuff. And actually, at the same time, his assistant was Scott, who is over at Inter-American now. He's a trader over there.
So he's like the only other dude in there. Because there's only 2 guys there. It's Pablo, and then then it has to be Scott.
Yeah.
Because everybody else in that office is woman.
Yeah.
And that's not negative or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like
very
noticeable. There's another guy in there.
Yeah. And Scott's been down there for a few years now. But
I
started talking with them, and I'm like, okay, like, what's this? What's the deal with roasting? What's this? What's this? And immediately just drawn to it. I'm like, I gotta learn about this.
Dope.
And so I started researching, like, where can I buy green coffee beans, and went on like Sweet Maria's, bought green coffee beans.
That fast? Like that?
Pretty quick.
Damn.
I was like into it like right away, because I think I was searching at that time, because I'm like, what I'm doing right now I don't want to do anymore. Like, and I was in a good position where I had money to where I didn't need to go and grab a job right away or anything like that. Like, I could sit back, and I have very simple lifestyle. I don't spend a lot of money. Like, I wear shorts and a white t-shirt and flip-flops every day of my life. You know, it's not expensive.
Very accurate.
So I did that. I bought a popcorn popper, and I started learning how to roast coffee on a popcorn popper, and buying coffee from Sweet Maria's and the different origins, and trying to figure it out. And it's like, you only have so much control on a popcorn popper. You're not really going to be dialing in a roast profile on that. But, you know, I would make it, and I'd serve it to my roommate at the time, and I'd be like, how is it? He'd be like, it's not so good. Maybe try it again, you know, like, it tastes like battery acid, you know. I think it was something on those things that the outside of the bean develops so quick, and like the roasts are like 4 minutes long, and like the outside you have to like find ways to slow it down so it'll actually completely develop. But I did that, and then I ended up buying a 1 pound roaster for the house.
Damn.
Yeah, and it was from some guy in Hong Kong that makes I picture him just like making him in his apartment and sending him out to people. I'm not sure what the real deal is. It's called a hookey. Yeah, and he used to sell them. I think he had a small website, and he sold them through like some coffee forums on the internet. Whoa. And it just like was essentially like a motor that spun a drum on top of like an infrared burner. It's very, very, very simple. But you could actually get the full control like of a drum roaster and start to learn how to kind of profile roasts. And so then I started I'm like, all right, let's buy some Ethiopia beans, El Salvador, Kenya. What is a Guatemala? Because it was a lot of discovery of like, I don't know what any of these coffees taste like. I don't know what a washed is. I don't know what a natural is. I don't know what like any of this is. I'm like, just, you know, buy them, roast them, taste them, see if you like them. You know, like what is this like? And then like, all right, well, what if I take this bean and roast this way, or take this bean and roast it this way? Like, is there a difference in the flavor? And sometimes there would be, and sometimes there wasn't, or I couldn't perceive it at the time because I had barely started tasting coffee. You know, I'd started cupping coffee in my kitchen, just being like, all right, I guess that.
Just developing your palate.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck yeah.
And it's just something where you just do it a lot, and that's how you learn. Is just keep doing it and keep doing it. And that's kind of how I got into it. Was just learning through trial and error, going on forums, and like seeing there's a huge home roasting community out there, and seeing like what these people say they're doing, and they would post their roast profiles and be like, I do this, and this is the effect I think it has, and someone else would say, I do this is the effect I think it has, and you know, then there'd be discussion, which is like, you know, you touched on it a moment ago, but like mentors and even colleagues of people discussing things is like so key to like learning. You know, it was the same thing with when I played poker. I'd have guys, I'd be like, hey, I played this poker hand this way, what do you think? And they'd be like, oh, that's awful, you should never do that again, you know. Or they'd be like, oh yeah, I agree, that's the correct play, you know, that kind of thing. But it's the same thing with like learning. I think any skill is like, if you're able to find someone who like they're either learning it at the same time as you, that's helpful. And also like if someone knows their stuff and they're like, feel free to like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you what I know. Like, you know,
groom
like, ask
you a little
question.
bit. Yeah.
And so I learned from a lot of those people, and it was self-taught on the internet.
YouTube University.
Exactly.
Dude,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean that's so funny though that you say it, because like you reference playing poker in that sense, where you know that you would play with other people, that's going to make you better. Now, when you say that though, that's very interesting, because to me, poker is so unknown. It's so, I mean, granted, you have 52 cards in the deck, and that's not including like jokers, right? Is that including jokers?
52 without the jokers.
52 without the jokers.
We don't play with the jokers.
Exactly. So 52 in general. But there's so many... What's the word I'm looking for?
Variables.
Thank you. Yes, there's so many different variables, and there's so many different combinations of numbers. How are you actually able to know how to play those cards? I mean, and you're saying, I mean, granted, I guess it could be like skateboarding, right? Like the way I would imagine it, and you can completely correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's so many unknowns in skateboarding. You don't know if you're going to be able to like put your foot here, and then what happens if you break your ankle? I've broken both my ankles. I've definitely gotten hurt.
That's rough.
It's okay. It happens. But I've had multiple injuries from skateboarding, but you don't know the chances and what your, your chances and the variables and circumstances and stuff like that are going to happen to why you missed that trick and why you hurt yourself. But it's just like, with coffee, I'm always advocating for mentors. If you skate with people who are better than you, who I was very, very blessed and very lucky to have done at a very early age. And then as I moved into LA and did all these other things, I was able to seeing that like all these pro skateboarders who had that ability to like push themselves or do these unthinkable tricks. And it was like, oh, it can be done. And then you're like, you just learn how to do it that way. You did that with poker, but then you do self-taught through roasting. It's just like, oh, well, like you didn't want to like go to a coffee shop and like go to maybe like Tyler from Tired Eyes. He told me that he went and worked at Steady State for 6 months while he had launched Tired Eyes to get like that last bit of information that he needed. And then he fucked with Elliot, and Elliot and like him kind of bounced ideas off each other. And then he got that last piece of information.
Yeah. Well, that was the next step for me. It was at a point where I was like, I was figuring out, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I'm like, do I want to keep it as a hobby, or do I want to does it want to be a career or a business, And then I was like, I want to start my own coffee company. Like,
straight from jump.
Yeah. I'm like, why not? Like, I have nothing else going on.
Wow.
And, I was trying to figure out how to do that. And I was diving into like the end, like I had never done anything like that. I didn't know anything about a health code or building codes or permits or anything like that. And like, I'm like, how do you do this? Who needs to and it turns out, you need like 80 people's different permission if you want to make someone a cup of coffee and charge them money for it. So there's a learning curve, and it's all like, it's there to learn, but there's a learning curve to just the operations of a business, right? Versus, the technical skill of roasting coffee and brewing coffee. It's almost the easy part compared to like all the hurdles you have to do on the business side. So I was trying to figure that stuff out, and I actually I built a coffee cart. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I built a coffee cart. It was very, very basic, but and I never launched it. But I built it, which was fun. I like building things, but when I was figuring out what I was going to do, I was going to try and do like the farmer's market thing, right? I was going to try, I'll go into farmer's market, serve cold brew, sell coffee beans, figure all that stuff out. I heard that Lofty Coffee in Encinitas had built out a roasting facility. And I'm like, I can go check this thing out. It's just down the street from me. And I walked in, and it was... If you haven't been there before, it's this like beautiful facility, beautiful cafe, large patio overlooking Coast Highway. There's the ocean and palm trees, and it's just like amazing location to have a coffee shop. And then behind this like very well done, essentially glass wall is this beautiful Loring roaster. And I walked in there and just immediately just like coffee nerded out, just like, oh my God, look at that. Look at this thing. Like, oh my God, look at this. And the barista who was working there was like, oh, you could go back there if you want.
What?
And
damn, this was early back in the day.
Yeah. Well, if you go in there now, it's like, it's very clear. Like, it would be like walking into the kitchen of a restaurant. Like,
exactly.
You obviously do not go beyond these doors. And even then I was like, are you sure? Like, and it was slow. There wasn't a customer in the joint when that place first opened. It was a very, very slow coffee shop because there's the cafe across the street that everyone went to. I'm like, okay, if like this girl says I could go back there, I could go back there. And I often think about this because I'm like, if she had not said you could go back there, probably the next 4 years of my life would be completely different. Because I walked back there and I was just standing there, looking at the roaster, and the owner had his office back there, and the owner, his name's Eric. He peeked his head out. He's like, "Hey, can I help you?" like kind of like very nice, but also kind of like, "Yeah, what do you do
why
back
are you here?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm like, "Oh, she's like, I come back here. Maybe that's not the case." He's like, "Not really, but he's like, how are you? Da da da." Like, and I explained to him, I'm a home roaster. I've learned how to roast. I do this, this, and this, and this. And the place had been open for like 2 weeks. And we
2 weeks.
Yeah, it was very, very, very new.
Wow.
And Eric was roasting all the coffee back then. And we wrapped for like 30 minutes, just chopping it up, talking coffee, talking about goals and stuff like that. And he essentially said, he's like, "Well, if you're interested in being a roaster, let's stay in touch. Like in a couple weeks, I think we're gonna be ready to hire someone." And so we exchanged information. I came in 2 weeks later, had an interview with him and his wife Alejandra, and they interviewed me for an hour. And they're like, "Yeah, if you want the job as a roaster, it's yours." And it was just right place, right time, and
very serendipitous.
Yeah, it was something where like I came in, Eric taught me how the machine works, showed me like how he roasts the coffee so far, the roast profiles that he had set up, the coffees that he had sourced, and just left it to me. And then after a couple months, he's like, "Hey, this is your baby now. Like if you need to adjust, like change the roast, make it taste how you want it to taste, like." Then started taking over like the sourcing and stuff like that, and just like kind of took over from there. And so I'm like, if that girl doesn't say you could go back there, I never worked there. Maybe I don't even pursue coffee. Maybe I go do something else. It's weird to think about like those moments in life, right? Like where you're like, if you took the left at the fork in the road instead of the right, like it could have been completely different. But I'm very thankful for my time there. Got to see how a very busy cafe works. Got to see kind of the hospitality side of things, because I'd never worked in a restaurant before that. I worked at...
And they're a bakery too, though, right?
Correct, yeah. So that facility is a bakery as well. I'd worked at In-N-Out when I was 18. It was my first job. That was my only hospitality industry experience at that point.
Wow.
But it was also, a little bit of an ego hit, right? Because my first day, I started there and I worked on the bar for 2 weeks first. My first day was my 30th birthday.
You weren't like working. You weren't on the espresso machine, right? You were probably just like working on the.
No, I was, because it was such a slow thing. I mean, that coffee bar there would be times where you'd not get a customer in for like 3 hours. It was very slow, because it was the original concept of that cafe was no to-go cups, no Wi-Fi, no specialty drinks. So strictly espressos, Americanos, lattes, cappuccinos, flat whites. And as it turns out, even in Encinitas, where seemingly no one has a job, if you don't have Wi-Fi, and this is like 2014, 2015, not as many people had their own personal hotspot like they do now. So people couldn't work there during the daytime, which like your weekday coffee shop crowd is mainly people working on their computers, right? Like
100%.
So without Wi-Fi, none of those people, they would show up, they'd be like, "You have no Wi-Fi, you have no plugs for the computer." Like, I'm out, I'm gone, So it let me like kind of like essentially learn to be a barista, and I'm a poor barista. I'm still not good. And if you try and put me, if you tried to put me through a rush, I'd probably drown very, very quickly.
Wow.
I can make drinks. I can make good tasting drinks. I could make very poor latte art. I can make tasty coffee, but just that part of it is not my forte.
So that was your 30th birthday.
Yeah, I started essentially like, it wasn't minimum wage, but it wasn't much more than minimum wage as a barista on my 30th birthday. It was
At that time it was probably what, $12.75, something like that, maybe $12.
Yeah, it wasn't, not a lot. And so the thing is, the passion was so, like, it was a fire, and I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
because you're
like,
stoked.
I know like a lot of people will be like, "What are you doing? Like taking a job?" Like, at this coffee shop at this age with like you know, it's when I'm working with like everyone else is 18, 19 years old, like, you know, like, but I was like, I love coffee, you know, like I want to learn as much about coffee as I possibly can right now.
Yeah.
And so like doing that was awesome. And then it was like, it got super cool once I got to be full-time roasting, then started to get to do the sourcing, then starting to get to go down to and visit coffee farms and make connections down there. Just learning so much. I honestly just got lucky, because I know there's like getting jobs like that. It's like, they're not all over the place, right? For like a fully
few
functioning,
and far between.
Yeah, like fully functioning thing where like, hey, you're full-time coffee director. You essentially get to, like, you have responsibilities. It's hard work, but like you essentially get to play a coffee like all day. You don't have to do anything else. Like, pretty sweet. Like, I definitely got lucky there. So, versus I think that the more traditional path is that like hire, you know, get up to be a barista, and then like maybe you could finally transition into like production or like roasting assistant, and then become a roaster. And then depending on the company, it's like if you want to get towards like green buying or sourcing or anything like that, like it's a long path. You know, there's some very established people and very knowledgeable people who are like ingrained there. So it definitely like allowed me to grow the knowledge base pretty quickly.
We have very similar paths in that sense. It's so funny. So wait, how old are you? Like 36, 37?
Yeah, I just turned 37.
Dude, there you go. No, that's fine. That's like there's no shame in that game, because I was much like you. I mean, I didn't play poker for a living, but I worked in like I did one cafe job other than that before that, but everything else was sales and marketing, PR.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, you're an excellent salesman. It's funny. Like whenever I watch your stuff, I'm like, this guy is so hyped. He does such a good job at like just like getting people like stoked, and like because like that's like the opposite of my personality. Like my personality is like very reserved, like stoic, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know how he does that, to just like be able to like just like churn it on and be like,
dude, you got to. It's compartmentalization, bro. I'm really good at that, and that's not trying to be boastful. That's just like, to be honest, like when I get home, like fuck off. I just want to chill, you know,
Right,
like I'm
right.
good, or I'll just be working on what I need to work on. Cause like, you know, I want to create. So like whether I'm doing the edits for my fighters or like creating reels or doing these things, like I'm at home, don't bother me kind of thing. But like if I'm out and about and I'm with my people, especially like if I'm with Leov or David or like any of my fighters or just like my team, if I'm fighting, like, yo, like let's talk some shit, let's roast, like, you know, it's like, yo, you're getting, I'm an introverted extrovert or extroverted introvert, like how you want to think about it. But especially with my boy Ray Ray, it's like when we're together, oh man, just like it's like sad. But what was interesting was that, you know, with that being my background, I moved back down here to San Diego, and I needed a job that was going to transfer to Hawaii, when I was with my ex, because like we were going to be moving to Hawaii.
Okay.
And my ex-father-in-law, he grew coffee on his farm in the Hamakoa Coast in Hawaii, on the Big Island.
Wow.
So like, dude, and they were like tall coffee trees, like 14 to 16 foot coffee trees.
Okay.
And they would like leave their property, and I would just get a ladder, and like they would leave me a ladder out and like a bucket, and I would go, and like they were Jehovah's Witnesses, like gnarly Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, I guess all of them are gnarly, but like regardless, they would all leave the property, and then I would like twist up some weed that I've got from like a local. And I'd just go sit in the coffee trees and like on the ladder, just smoking weed and like looking at all the scrub spiders that were like crawling through all the fucking cherries and everything. And I'm just like, this shit is so dope. You know, like just all fucking high, just like, oh my God, like I need to do this. And then so like when I moved back from San Francisco, I've been living here for like 15 years, but I moved 1 year back to the Bay Area where I'm from.
Okay.
And I came back down, and I was like, I'm going to go to coffee. Like I've always been obsessed with coffee. Coffee's a huge part of my family. Like my grandmother who just passed away, like it was a big part of her thing. Even to the day, like she was getting ready, like even to the last couple of years of her life, she wouldn't drink regular coffee anymore, but it would still be decaf and some pan dulce. Mm-hmm. And then like my mother, my father, everybody drinks coffee gnarly. It's like a big part of our family. So it was like, yo, coffee's the one piece. I didn't know anything about roasting, but I did have like a cup of coffee that was like, I was in San Francisco and it was St. Frank on Polk Street.
Okay.
And I mean, I've gone there now and there's no hate, but like there's definitely better spots. But like that was the one that changed my mind. I got a triple shot, like almond, like cappuccino or like, or
Right.
some bullshit.
Right.
And like, I could taste the difference. And I remember I was sitting on the corner street of like Polk and some other street. And I was just sitting there smoking a joint and I was drinking this coffee and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I got to do. Coffee. This is it. This is it. And then like, so it translates and I walk into Zoom Bar over in Cardiff. They had a now hiring sign.
I love that spot.
Dude, favorite spot. Still to this day. Like I went there last week. It's like, if I'm ever like not working and I'm driving through, I always stop.
It's like the perfect spot to just get an espresso.
Dude.
Like the way it's like, they built that out with like the like seating and stuff like that. It just like feels perfect just to pop in.
The water's right there too. Oh my God. And like the aesthetic still to this day.
Yeah. I love
favorite cafe in San Diego, period. And I do coffee for a lot of people. That's my spot.
Yeah.
And like they still have a lot of the same people who were there when I was there. But like much to your point, dude, I was 29.
Yeah.
And I turned 30 while I had got hired there. And I remember like filling out the application and Steve Rail, the owner, was like, it says on there like salary from last job or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, put on there what I was making from like sales and PR and marketing.
Yeah.
He'd like,
Yeah.
dude, he at the interview, he looks at me, he's like, you're not going to make this here. I was like, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Much like you though, the reason I'm saying this is much like you. It was like, I didn't even care. I was about to be 30 years old. Working with people who were 18, some of them maybe 17, a couple other people older, mid-20s, whatever. But like, I was like, once I had learned that you could roast your own coffee, like, yo, that was it. And I just hounded, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I just hounded Steve for 4 months until he was finally like, Connor, come here, come on, talk us out. Like, do you still want to roast? Like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah, let's go, baby. And because it was very strategic. I was like, no, I have to learn how to roast from here because he knows how to roast. Get some mentors. I had 2 mentors and learn what you need to do. And eventually you're going to own your own coffee brand. And it was like, it was never never going to work your way through. It was, no, you're going to learn what you're going to learn. You're going to roast. And then it's what you're going to do. And you're going to open up a roastery in Hawaii. And that was how I was going to make a living. And much like you, damn, dude, this is crazy. The parallels are incredible because it's like, I had 2 milk steaming trainings because Steve is hella particular. Like you can't even jump on bar until you got latte art down. I did back a store and I did reg. And then I had 2 milk steamings trainings. And then straight up, they were like, nope, you're not going to jump on bar. You're going straight to roasting. So I went straight from washing dishes at back a store, straight to roasting and production. And I skipped all that shit. And that's how I met Shay. And that's how Still Mill happened. But like, but yeah, I mean, now I am a barista. Like through the years, I've definitely learned how to be a barista. But dude, it was very much like you. Like, hey, gonna open up a brand, gonna do this, gonna do that. That's fucking dope.
It's cool to see like if you're able to like see the vision of like this is what I want to do, and like you like know like hey this path is not traditional to doing this, but like you're able to just be like I'm gonna do it anyway. Like
passion.
Yeah.
That passion that you have is unmatched by a lot of people in life.
Yeah.
So to know, to see that and recognize that in you is like, damn, that's fucking dope, bro.
Yeah. I think you like, especially in industry like coffee where it's like, I mean, if you're here for the money, then you're in the wrong place. You know, it's like, I think you can obviously make good money in it, but, you know, if you don't have a passion for the thing, like I think it's just gonna be tough to stay in this industry. Because I've seen people come and go. People on like the green coffee side come in as like they're more salespeople, and they come in as like trying working for an importer as like a coffee trader and stuff like that, and they're just like they're in and out in just a few weeks because it's different, right? And so if you don't actually like care about coffee in the industry, like It's gonna have a rough time, I think.
Well, I mean, Elliot, sitting exactly where you're at. Elliot was like, "You don't get into coffee for the money."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're getting in for it for the long game."
Right.
And that's the bottom line. I mean, granted, Elliot is doing very well for himself. I mean, he has the roastery, and he has the collective, and he has steady state, and it's like, dude, he's doing very well.
Yeah.
You can do well. You got to, find your market, corner it, get it. That's just sales in general.
Right.
But the fact that he's an award-winning roaster and he's doing these things like, he's got the accolades. He's check. And he's fucking funny too. I really like Elliot. Yeah. He's like, the more and more I kick it with that fool, I fucking love it.
Yeah,
like,
Elliot's great.
Dude, just today, he was like, we were talking at the roastery. He's fantastic. I love it. But like, I think with coffee, it's yourself, Elliot, Steve, fucking Shay. Like, you pick a person and everybody, Siri Simran. Like,
I was going to say Siri.
Dude, the passion that's behind it is so like, it gets you all pumped because then you're talking about like these kind of, I don't want to say geeky things. So I always say like coffee geek it out, but I say it in the sense that like the only reason I reference it that way is because of the fact that nobody else would understand. It's like when you talk to somebody who's like into NASCAR or talks to somebody about something who like you have no idea about, they're talking a language that you don't understand. And then you can like I could talk to you about like ROR and your charge temp and all these things. And we're like, oh, why did you do that? Like, oh, that's so crazy. Like, da-da-da-da. And then you're just like, people are like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like foreign language.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about it, it's so fluid and so fluent that it's like, it's just something, unless you have that passion for coffee, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Siri was awesome when she came on board at Lofty. Because there's like, all right, so I have passion for coffee, but there's times with any job, right, where it wanes. Like if you're in like, it's just like straight, like, I don't know, just like a long week or anything like that. It's any job, right? You have periods where you love it and then maybe less so or something like that. But having Siri around and her stoke for coffee was amazing because it would always like remind me to like just be just as stoked about it. Like she has this kind of like, her personality is just like super enthusiastic, super nice, and also like zero ego. Like she knows her stuff, and she's like, I think lives like a rising tide lifts all boats. Like she's not worried about like, I need to protect my job. She wants like everyone to get like, she wants to learn with everyone else. She doesn't want to like pretend like she knows more than anyone else. She just like has this like very like personality that just invites everyone to get better.
No famine mentality with that one.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's something I've struggled with before, is like that ego part of it. It's
really?
Like, yeah.
You don't strike me as a person who would struggle with that.
I don't know if it's ego is the right word, but but she is. That was one of the things that always struck it. She just wanted everyone to be as good as they could and like freely share all knowledge and push forward. So
that's interesting because like to that point, I had a discussion with a roaster once. And it was like right after I launched Caffeine and Green as the roasting brand, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, I came out swinging pretty tough with my fighters and like, all these things. And it's, San Diego. I'm not throwing this person under the boat. I won't even say who it is. But like, the guy asked me, he's like, don't you? He's like, you've had a lot of people on your show who are like competitors, like essentially your competition. I'm like, see right there, I'm gonna stop you right there, bro. Like I don't see it that way, number one. And then he's like, well, but like let me hear me out. And I'm just like, well, go ahead, whatever. And then he like starts talking to me a little bit, and he's like, aren't you worried about sales, like in what you're doing, and like these people, this people, that way? And then he's like, and then he said, he's like, me and you essentially have the same customer base. I was like, no, bro. Like I stopped him. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because everything you're saying, I don't fuck with. I was like, for me, I fuck with everybody.
Right.
Because there's nothing wrong with us talking.
Right.
we might have the same customer base, and we might have, we're all in San Diego, and like, whatever. There's more than enough people here who drink enough coffee, who we can all make money, obviously, because we're doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not rolling in the dough, but like, that's also why you got to have multiple hustles. It's just like, that's what you got to do to live in life. But I find my path. I stay in my fucking lane, and my niche is what it is: skateboarding, fighting, hip hop. Like, I find my lane, I stay in it. Ain't nobody else in my lane. All right, fuck it. But we still drink coffee. And so, like, but at the same time, one of my favorite people to fuck with in general is Tyler. Like, Tyler was at the roastery right when I was leaving. And me and Tyler, like, we'll have conversations about personal issues, about health issues, about things like, I'll go to his cafe and I'll bring 2 homies with me and be like, hey, let's go support the homie right now. Yeah. Like that. There's no famine mentality in the way I think about coffee, because if there's enough people around the world who are supporting it, why, like, it's not even a fucking coffee thing anymore. It's a fucking brand thing.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I think that's 100% it. I mean, coffee is the #1 selling beverage in the United States of America.
Period.
There's plenty of people wanting to buy coffee to go around. So I think that's where it's like, if you're going around viewing someone as like your competition, like it's just the wrong way of looking at things, like, I think especially in specialty coffee, which I think is in general a more communal and less cutthroat business. Some of the other businesses and reaching out to, when you start a business, you have to deal with a number of different entities, business types, and stuff like that. And just like learning about business, trying to become a better business person myself. Like, you interact with all these people, and some of the things you see in other businesses and how cutthroat they are, and how, like, oh my God, like these people, they treat each other awful.
There's
like the
no
things
loyalty.
It's like they don't care. They'll run you over. They don't care at all. Like, the saying of like, it's just business. And I understand that saying. I understand it's just
100%.
business, like I get that. But I think specialty coffee is a bit different. I don't see the cutthroatness. And maybe it is there in spots that I don't see.
Oh, there definitely is.
I'm sure in like if you're trying to go heavy into the wholesale game, there's sales guys who are, lying, cheating, stealing, making stuff up in order to get a new client and stuff like that. But as far as like people like you and me, or, other like small coffee brands in San Diego, it's like, I don't look at anyone as like a competitor. I'm like everyone, colleagues, friends, acquaintances, like everyone, is trying to like push this thing of like, hey, coffee could taste really good. Like, check this out, Yeah. I had someone who I was selling coffee to. It was a coffee shop that was in Tennessee. I was selling coffee to, and they ended up shutting down due to COVID. Unfortunately, they went out of business. But they're just out here, and they're like, all right, I'm here in San Diego. Do you have any coffee recommendations? And I gave them the whole playlist. I'm like, all right, you're going to Tired Eyes, you're going to Lofty, you're going to Steady State, and I think I never checked back with them, but I think they did like tour de San Diego cafes and stuff. But
fuck yeah,
it was. I do think that's how it should be.
I think so too. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's funny. I don't know if it just because like you put out what you attract, right? Or like you push that out in the universe, it'll come back to you, good or bad. And as I'm saying this, I've never put out like the competition aspect, but like there's people who have approached me because like I talk so much and like I'm able to like converse with people, because I'll fuck with everybody. Like even if we have different opinions, like I'd love to hear your opinion and why you think that way.
Right. That's important.
Yeah, super. Because you have to grow. Like, and maybe you're gonna say something that I would think is like, nah, fuck that, that's wrong. But then you give me some logic and give me some reasoning. And you're like, hey, that changed my point of view.
That's many people are not that way. Many people do not want to hear something contrary to what they believe and be receptive to it and then change their mind.
Well, dude, it's like this life is way too short to be stuck on some shit. Yeah. Dude, I blinked and I'm 35. Yeah, fucking, you know what I mean? Like, And it's all because too, in the last 5 going on 6 years, all right, I've been a coffee roaster for 6 years. I started at 29. I'm 35.
Right.
I don't remember any other point in my life except for when I was skateboarding full time that went by that fast.
Right.
And, you know, it was recently. It was right after my fight. I was with a friend of mine, like a really good friend of mine. And we're having dinner and, like, we're just celebrating whatever. And then some friends of hers rolled through, and they happened to be some members of a coffee shop. I'll leave them nameless. But they knew who I was. And it's not, I'm not saying that to be like, oh, like, I know who I am. Like, I'm a big deal or something. No, fuck that. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah. It's like, oh, we know who you are. And it's kind of thing. And it's like, oh, like, da-da-da. And they were, like, talking. And they were like, oh, well, you're the competition. And I was like, excuse me? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, you know, because you're like, you own Caffeine and Green. And you do Steel Mill. And this, that, and this. And I was like, no. And I'm sitting there and there's a full table of people. And I was like, no, that's not right. I was like, exactly what I said to you. I was like, I'm in my lane. If you feel threatened by me, that's your problem. And I was like, losers focus on what other people are doing. Winners stay in their fucking lane and focus on winning and focus on what they're trying to do. I'm focused on what the fuck I'm trying to do. You stay over there to fucking focus on what you're doing. If you don't, why is that my problem? Don't be looking at me like I'm the competition. You're in coffee. I'm in coffee. We can appreciate the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, like you said, a rising tide raises all ships. And to me, it was like I don't shy away from confrontation. So it's like, if you're going to come at me sideways like that, I'm going to fucking call you out. Like, what's popping? Like, let's go. Let's, like, give me some reasoning, or you're just talking out of your ass. That's what it is. And then, like, my friend who was sitting next to me, she was like, this is awkward. Can you just stop? And I was like, why? Well, I mean, if you're going to say some dumb shit, then I'm going to call you out. Because, like, I talk to people also a lot by the week. And then on the times of other people when I'm not in front of a mic, that's what it is. Yeah. I'm also not afraid to tell you to fuck off. So it's like, okay, cool. That's just me as a person, though. That's very offensive to a lot of people. But at the same time, it's okay.
No, I think it leads to clear communication, which is something that I think we're really lacking a lot nowadays. Mm-hmm. I think being able to listen to a contrary viewpoint and engaging with it, and maybe they'll change your mind, maybe they won't, but at least engaging with it and listening to like that is very important. And I think being direct with people is very important. Mm-hmm. You know, I say, like, social media has made communication, it's never been easier, right? Communicate with anyone in the world right now.
Yep.
Just with this device in our pocket. That's amazing.
Talk to your homie in Spain or whatever.
Amazing. But I feel like communication's never been worse. Like, the people, and I guess I'm a very relatively young human being. So I don't know ever in the history of mankind has it never been worse. I'm sure there's times it's been worse. But I think the way people talk to each other is less so that a lot of division, a lot of just like set in stone of what they think and that's it, or they won't, you know, talk about hard things and stuff like that. So I think that's cool that's how you are. I am not. I am very willing to talk to anyone about almost all topics, whether I agree with them or disagree with them. It doesn't matter. I'm not that confrontational, though. Oh, I'm more of just like, whatever. Just like walk away, you know. But I think it's cool that you engage like that.
I mean,
it's very odd that someone would come at you at a restaurant.
Dude, seriously, it's like you sat down at the table with me and my homegirl. We're sitting there having a great conversation. We're talking about all these other things, and like literally in the middle of the dinner, they say that, and I was like, "What? Like, why are you making this awkward?"
Yeah.
Because I'm also not going to shy away from that. Like, that's just like, no, it's just not right. Because to your point, my friend Andrew, who owns Mad Labs Coffee up in LA.
I don't think I know that one.
It's like, dude, same, like, great story, amazing individual, so knowledgeable about coffee. He's also the San Remo, San Remo? Is it espresso machine?
Espresso machines, yeah.
Yeah, okay. San Remo, he's the San Remo rep.
Oh, and, okay, cool.
He is just a coffee, a coffee encyclopedia, man. He knows about roasting. He knows about baristas. He knows about like the intricacies of the espresso machines. And it's like, wow, I get stoked when I talk to him. But he has such a great story and so different. Like, was raised in religion and like came out here and like had his own battle with things and XYZ. But to your point, one of his favorite things that he would talk to me about is like, dude, in San Diego, it's so community based and nobody is trying to be like that. Where like cutthroat and do all these things. Cause in LA, I mean, this is pre-COVID. He was saying very cutthroat in LA.
Wow.
He said there's been other roasters who will go into cafes who sell like coffee beans from other roasters and like grab their coffee beans down, take them off, put their beans up. And he said he's gone to other coffee roasters and like, be like, hey, give me my fucking beans back. And even though he's like super non-confrontational, he's also very confrontational.
Wow.
Because like he's like, I've talked to him I've hung out with him multiple times, and he's like, I had to beat this dude's ass. Like he actually will like fight people on the street for other things not coffee related that were like people were just disrespecting him or like something like that. And he's like, dude, you meet him? He has a family. He's like this kind of chubby white guy with glasses, kind of looks nerdy. He's from the Midwest, but he just doesn't take shit.
Sure.
So he's just a rad motherfucker like that. But I really think it's just based on where we're at. I mean, and this grows across industries because like I've had homies who are from LA in the skate scene, and they're like, dude, we come down to San Diego and like all these crews fuck with each other, and like because everybody's clicked up, right?
Sure.
Like you got your little crew who you hang out with, but you see the homies and you go to a premiere and everybody's like, you're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You got homies in each crew who you fuck with, and then you're cheering each other on. And that's the San Diego thing. It's just, I really just think it's us. It's really us in San Diego.
It's definitely more laid back, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is, it's good. Because if it was cutthroat like that, I just wouldn't be involved in coffee. Like, if that's, that's one of the reasons I got out of like playing poker is like, I have no desire to be, cutthroat and do that. And like, it's just, if that's what it takes to have like a successful business, like it's just not worth it for me then, and I think you could be a kind, good person to everyone around you and still be a very, very successful business person. So
100%. Let's take a break real quick.
Yep.
Okay. And we're back. Okay.
Cool.
So shifting gears a little bit, dude, I mean, the poker thing, such a great surprise. That's super rad. Did Siri know about that?
Yeah.
A little bit?
I don't talk about it a lot. But it was a very big part of my life. I still love poker. I mean, it's a great game. Play it occasionally.
It's different for you though, because you have like the strategies behind it. You have like methods now.
Yeah. It's a lot of math in poker. It's a lot of math. It's a lot of frequency. It's just figuring out when to bluff, when to value bet, what hands to play.
Figuring out the odds.
Yeah. It was a cool game to play for a living. I got to travel a lot of places in the world to play poker, that was super fun. Got some like good stories out of that and stuff. So
craziest story in the craziest place playing poker.
Oh. One of my favorite. I played in one of the more interesting. I've had a couple experiences that were like you felt scared, but nothing actually happened. So it's maybe not that good of a story. But so I played in Lebanon. I played in a casino in Lebanon once.
Lebanon.
Yeah, well, because this is. I worked in Saudi Arabia for a year.
What?
Yeah.
Yo, back that up. Yo, how did you get to Saudi Arabia?
I was working on an ambulance out there.
Ambulance?
Yeah, I worked as an EMT for several years before I did poker. So it went EMT, poker, coffee.
So from college, like I'm assuming you went to college. Did you go to college?
No college.
No college.
No.
Straight just EMT.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, so it's like some like community college classes, right? So not but like no like bachelor's degree or anything like that.
No worries. You did the smart thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. See if it pays off in the end.
Yeah. So you're EMT. You go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So I worked for a number of years here in California doing that. And then, I worked in Saudi Arabia for about 1 year. Well, 1 year exactly. And during that time, I got to travel up to Europe, travel up to different places. And Lebanon is an hour and a half flight from Saudi Arabia. It's very, very close. And so Saudi Arabia is very restrictive in lifestyle. Like you can't drink. There's no alcohol. There's many things you can't do.
Wow.
In Saudi Arabia, it was an interesting time. It was a time where I was able to. They pay very well there. It's tax free. Got a lot of vacation time, stuff like that. The actual time being there is restricted, and so like spending time there is not as enjoyable. But being able to travel up into Europe and stuff like that was super cool. Yeah. And one of the trips was to Lebanon with another guy who worked at the hospital. Actually, strangely enough, how I got the job, childhood friend from a guy who was from San Diego. We hooked up on Facebook. And I was like, yo, what are you up to these days? He's like, oh, I'm an EMT. I'm like, oh, me too. And he's like, I work in Saudi Arabia. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you know how you make this like minimum wage in California? I'm like, yep, I know. And he's like, well, here you make, 5 times as much. I'm like, sign me up. Let's go.
Yeah.
So me and him took a trip up to Lebanon, and I'd already played I've been playing poker since I was 18. So at this point, 7 years, and went to a casino, which was in a city. What's the city's name? June, I think is the name of it. Juni or something like that. Only casino there in the country. And got into a poker game there. Ended up making a lot of money. And and I was scared because Lebanon is it's a safe country until it's not. It's something where like, it's at a divide of a lot of different cultures. And like you'll be going down the street there, and there's brand new skyscraper next to an old like dirt building with like 50 cal bullets going through it, because they've had a lot of very sad things happen there over the years. A lot of like
war and stuff, right?
Yeah, wars, uprisings, battles, bombings. Like there's been a lot of very bad things that have happened over there, and like in between, I don't know how they do it, but they settle back into like a normal lifestyle. I guess you have to. Like, what else are you gonna do? But there's a lot of people very much on edge there. I remember when we first got there, my buddy had a video camera, and he was like videotaping something, and like this like really scary dude came up to us. He's like, just start questions like, what are you videotaping? Da da da, like just going off on us, and like he's like, don't let that camera come out of your bag the rest of the time you're in this country, like kind of like that thing. We have no idea who this guy was, like plain clothes, like we're like, all right. Not bringing the video camera out ever again. Like, like I don't know who you are, but we're not doing that here. So in the casino there, made a pile of money in playing poker, and the whole time I was just quiet. I didn't say a word because I didn't want them to know I was American. And they're all speaking in Arabic there.
So you have no idea what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I knew like numbers, and I knew a few words. So like if someone was like, and I didn't want them to like know I didn't speak Arabic that well, because then they could like kind of like cheat me maybe, and like tell each other like different things, and I wouldn't understand it. So I tried to stay quiet as long as I could. And then I finally said something in English, and they're like, oh, because I could pass as like being from there. Like I have like some like similar facial features, like thick hair. That kind of thing, and they're like, "Oh, we thought you were Lebanese," I cashed out for all the money, and it was like a very scary taxi ride home. Like,
why?
Just because I'm like, I have all this money, like in my pocket. I don't know anyone here. Like,
was your homie there still?
Yeah,
but you were just like, okay.
Yeah, like we don't know. Like this taxi driver picks us up from the casino. He doesn't know like if we made money. I think we tried to like drop hints like, I can't believe we lost it all tonight, because we don't know where he's gonna take us. We're going back to like kind of a sketchy hotel, and
oh Jesus,
that was part of it. that happened. I had a trip to Austria, which is a beautiful country, and I played poker there, and had like a similar thing, like walking out at like 4 a.m. from a casino to try and grab like a cab or a taxi or the subway or whatever to go back with like a pocket full of money to like a hostel.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was just like, I saw like the guy who I'd won a ton of money from, and he's like saw him. I'm like, fuck, like, hope this guy doesn't come after me.
Yeah.
Like right now, like, but I guess, I don't know. It was a fun lifestyle. I got to go to Austria, Lebanon, Macau, Italy, a lot of trips to Vegas.
Damn, you don't strike me as a dude who'd be doing all this. This is crazy. This
Yeah.
is fucking dope. I'm glad you're telling me this.
I liked it. Poker's a fun game. It's fun. It's fun as a hobby and fun as a social game. As a profession, not so much.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Because there's also a big part of like I ask all the guests, send me some videos, send me some photos of yourself that you feel comfortable with me promoting. You sent me a shitload of rock climbing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the correct terms. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
Climbing, if yes, that's what it's called.
Yeah, climbing, rock climbing. Same.
Climbing, rock climbing. But dude, like we were talking about this before the podcast, we had discussed it in the roastery just in passing, like, oh, I see you limping, and you're like, oh, like I hurt myself, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, like same thing, like, oh,
yeah.
but I fight. And so it's like kind of, hey, we're both athletes and active and stuff. But I looked at your photos that you sent me, and I was thinking like, oh, you climb like Mesa Rim or like these other like little rock wall things, and like, bro, there's like fucking cliffside, like I don't know, a rock face, if you will. And it's like, oh shit, like you climb. You're like, yo, are you free? Like, are you using a thing? Are you?
Yeah, there's ropes. It's safe.
Okay.
I don't do any of the crazy stuff. I do very safe, accessible climbs.
I mean, that's
like that.
To your opinion, because like when I see the photos that you sent me, I was like, I got nervous just looking at it. Like,
yeah,
oh, shit.
Yeah, but I mean, there's very little danger there. There's guys out there who are doing some like very bold, as the term is used, is when you're doing stuff that's like maybe on the edge of not as safe. And they do crazy stuff, out there. I do some more basic stuff, and I do a lot of gym climbing. But yeah, it's a great sport. It's been the year of injuries for me.
This year?
Yeah, it's been frustrating. That's one of actually during COVID, that was one of the things that I missed the most, was being able to climb with all the gyms closed. And then like there was a period of time where like people were trying not to go to crags because we didn't know, like, okay, is it okay to be outside? Is it like
crags?
We call like a rock climbing wall a crag. So like an area that you would go to climb, like would be called like a crag. So one of the videos I sent you was in Red Rocks, which is one of the biggest rock climbing destinations in the country, in the world, really.
Red Rock in Colorado?
No, this one is in Vegas. It's it's about 20-30 minutes outside of Vegas.
Okay.
Beautiful sandstone. There's thousands of climbs there. People come from all over the world to climb there. And there's a period of time where, like, during COVID, people especially didn't want to be traveling through like small cities and stuff like that. Not wanting to risk spread and stuff like that. So there was a long period of time where I wasn't climbing, and then I came back to climbing, and it's like constantly getting injured. And I just got injured again last week. I injured a tendon in my finger, so it's
what?
Like, yeah, that's it's actually funny. There's a lot of, I think, similarities between climbing and jiu-jitsu, especially.
Okay.
In that it's very positional. It's very like specific body sequences of how you need to move your body in order to do something like in the most efficient manner and in the strongest manner. So I took jiu-jitsu classes for like 2 months, so I got some like very very basic understanding of kind of some stuff. But it's definitely all about like, okay, like I'm gonna reach up and grab this hand, hold this way, then I'm gonna go up with my right foot, and I'm gonna turn my hip slightly inward so I could get pressure to go up to this next hold. But so much of the strength comes through the fingers, and when you injure a tendon, like it just you can't do anything. So
well, yeah, because you're using like chalk. I've noticed, like we were talking about before the podcast. I like was watching this documentary. As soon as I get home, I'm gonna text you, like, this is what it's called. But I see like in those things, like they have their little chalk bag, and they're just like powdering it up, and they go to the next hole, and like moving this way and moving that way, and then you have like your special shoes that you got to use, and I mean, I have a very basic understanding of it, but dude, it's so fucking gnarly. Like, it's scary.
It is. There's a big mental part of it. I've done it for a while, but I still get scared. Like when I'm out like lead climbing on something that's like closer to like, because there's like different difficulties, right? Like big holds, small holds, like they rate climbs different things, like how far apart they are. And so like on the easier stuff, you feel more comfortable, right? Like moving up the rock face. Then on the harder stuff, when you know like maybe I could do this, maybe I can't, I'm gonna fall. It's like that mental thing where you have to like lock in and like embrace that, like I could fall. It's okay. It's safe. Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Dude, what goes through your head when you fall? Like,
it's quick. Like honestly, the lead up to thinking you're gonna fall is much worse than the fall. And people who you've done enough time, you embrace it. You know, you'll see some guys out there. It's really funny. There's a climber. His name's Chris Sharma, and when he falls, he lets out this it's almost like a shout for joy as he's falling, and it's really funny. But a lot of the falls, it's just like by the time, like it's just so quick. It's just like
your stomach doesn't shoot to your your mouth or something like that, or like your stomach doesn't drop.
I think on unexpected falls, it does a little bit more. Sometimes you know you're gonna fall, and sometimes like a foot will slip and then you fall, and like that's like a little bit more nerve-wracking. But like it's like the type of climbing I do is called sport climbing. So they actually have bolts that get drilled into the wall, and they have little hangers, and then you hang like your quick draws, your carabiners from the bolt in those things. And the gear is made so good now that there's no real danger in a well bolted place with like good gear. There's no real danger of it breaking and like any kind of like actual injury or anything like that. But there is that like, fuck, I don't want to fall. It's a mental thing, right?
Yeah,
like you're up there, you're 50 feet in the air, you're like, I don't want to fall.
Dude, I don't know. It's like hearing you say that, it's just so funny because it's like I was saying before the podcast, I lived with this person this woman named Cheryl who used to be a climber, and she would show me these fucking climbs that she would do, and just you saying it's so safe and that there's no danger in it, but you're looking at these walls and they're like, I don't know, 1,000 feet up in the air. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how tall it is, but it's just like, you climb that? Like, fuck that thing. Like, no way. I'm staying my ass right here. I'm going to watch you do that real hard.
Yeah.
Like, go, do it. But like, what got you into climbing? Because I mean, like, you have because they're very normal to you, but like very unique interests. I mean, you're a poker player. You love coffee, which we can relate on, but then all of a sudden you do climbing too. It's like, yo, what got you into that? Was there a person? Was there a certain moment?
It's the same reason any guy in his young 20s does anything is for a girl,
For a girl?
Yeah, the girl I dated at the time was climb, so she's like, hey, you want to go check out climbing? I'm like, yeah. And then we broke up like long ago. But I loved it. And I think I see something actually very similar between these three things. It may not be like super apparent, but rock climbing, poker, coffee, and specifically coffee roasting very much reach to my personality as a human being, in that they're all decently individual activities where you're testing yourself, right? Or you're engaged on like trying to solve something yourself. So especially like, for instance, in rock climbing, there's bouldering, if you're familiar with that. And that's where you're not on ropes, but you're on super short walls, like 15, 20 feet high. If you ever go to like a Vital climbing gym just down the road, it's bouldering. You don't have to wear a rope or a harness. You don't go super high off the ground. And you just have to solve the sequence of how to get from here to there. Oh. So there's that problem solving on that. And then in poker, it's the same thing. Like, you're trying to solve the sequence of like, what cards do I use? What bets do I use in order to like get to a solution? And then with like coffee, it's that same thing if you're trying to like, how do I roast this coffee in order to bring out the best flavor? So that's how I relate them all. And I think that's why all three of them kind of like spoke to me. Yeah.
Damn. Dude, as you're saying this, I'm thinking of like, you know, skateboarding, fighting, coffee. All very individual.
Yep.
All very strategic.
Yep.
That's what I keep hearing in like your thing. It's very strategic. There's strategy behind it, but then it's all problem solving. It's like last night I was sparring, and then like there's a dude that I've never sparred with, but I noticed that he did a couple kicks. So within a 3-minute round, you're like trying to figure out their movements, well, how you can catch them, and boom, and then like, you know, bob and weave, hit them like whatever. But then also skateboarding the same thing. But it's very interesting. I've never thought about it that way until you just said that right there. It's like, oh, same, but different.
What is it? Muay Thai? Is that what you do?
Muay Thai, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Muay Thai. I was doing jiu-jitsu a lot.
Yeah.
Probably even more than Muay Thai, but I started getting like a string of injuries through jiu-jitsu, and I was just like, you know what? I like banging on people way harder than I like choking them out. Granted, I have a little bit more jiu-jitsu experience than you do, so like I have my basic stuff that I've like, you know, I know how to stuff a takedown. If I got to the ground and it was like somebody who didn't train, no. There's no question.
Yeah,
I'm gonna strangle you.
Yeah.
But because we're in San Diego, if a fight goes to the ground, dude, I would say there's like a 75% chance that person knows how to train, and they could probably strangle me if we end up getting to the ground. If we're standing, better odds. But like, yeah, I mean, like regardless. But like,
I think jiu-jitsu is an amazing sport.
It is so rad.
If I got injured a bunch doing that too. If I hadn't, I would have kept with it, and maybe one day I'll go back. I've actually been thinking about it lately, trying to go back to it. I absolutely loved it. It blew me away that like, and I'm not a big guy, right? Like I'm 5'8", 160, 170, you know, but
bigger than me.
For my body type, I'm more muscular, and especially back when I took jiu-jitsu, I was doing a lot of powerlifting, and so I had even more muscle on me. And I go in there, and I expected to lose. I wasn't like going in like naive. I'm gonna muscle these guys all around or anything like that. But it blew me away at like, I remember rolling with this guy who was like 120 pounds, purple belt at Studio 540, and just trying with all my might to pass his guard, dude. And he was just so casual, just on the ground, just like effortless, just like sitting there. I'm like, okay, this is a cool sport. Like, how do I learn how to do that? That's amazing. Like, I'm like, how is this guy just like not even trying right now?
Dude, it's the purple belts. I'm telling you, like purple belts, they just control you. My homie Perry, fucking love rolling with Perry. Perry is like, he will go slow. He makes you go to his speed.
Right.
It does not matter what you want to do. You could try to explode and like pass his guard, and maybe he'll let you pass his guard and let you get you inside control, or let you even hold a submission. But then he'll just slowly take your hand off, and you're like, fuck, you're trying to muscle it in there, and he just slowly like moves your hand, and then he starts to maneuver you around, and you're like, you're trying to be like, don't turn into him, turn away from him, like doing these things, but even he'll counter it.
Right.
And like, I've seen Perry move fast maybe twice.
Wow.
Maybe.
But he's just in control.
Control, bro.
Wow,
and he'll be breaking a sweat, and he'll be like holding you down, but he knows how to maneuver you. And it was like, me and my friend Leov, we were in a very unique situation that we got into jiu-jitsu before COVID hit. And from jump, we were with a lot of good people. And then when COVID hit, I was nursing an injury. I had torn my labrum, got through it. And then she was like, hey, like, we're doing like a private backyard thing, and it's only like the team. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So then we went, and there was a bunch of white belts, but there was also like blue belts, purple belts, people coming from Autos, like, a lot of upper belts. So we were training
killers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So from jump, we were already training with better people. So much like skateboarding too. It's just like, I've been very lucky in my life whenever I get into a new endeavor.
Yeah.
I have people to kind of be like, no, this is what it is. and this is how you do it,
Yeah.
and show you the best way possible. When you got into climbing, was your ex-girlfriend, was she like better? I mean, obviously she was into climbing, but like, did she kind of show you the ropes and like?
She did. Yeah. So she was very proficient in all forms of it. So it was nice to have that. And it was interesting, like learning the technique versus like with climbing, girls are oftentimes much better climbers than guys when they first start, because guys try to, like, when they try and go up a rock wall, this almost looks like they're trying to rip the wall down, you know, they're just like muscling it, you know, just da da da, and they pump out like very quick and get tired, and girls will use better technique and like know how to move their body and balance and stuff like that, which is the key to climbing well, is like efficiency of movement, balance, that kind of thing. And so being able to like learn that kind of stuff from her, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not tired at the end of that climb, and doing it your way instead of mine.
Do you, when you're climbing, did you say climbing a wall? Do you like, or
yeah, a wall, a route.
Whenever you're doing what you're doing,
yeah.
Are you clear-minded? Like, are you focused only on that, or is it like a meditative state, a flow state, or?
Yeah, definitely, especially when I'm trying something at my limit. Very much locked into the next hold, like don't see anything that's going on around me kind of thing. Just like looking towards the next move, thinking about the sequence of like, okay, like what holds do I have to grab like next? Yeah, I love that feeling. That feeling's great. It's like when you're just like locked in on it and stuff like that. So,
dude, that's dope, man.
Yeah, climbing. Have you ever climbed?
I've gone like, I've done twice. I did one down by the airport. There's like a rock climbing place over there down by the airport.
Solid Rock. Yeah.
Solid Rock, yeah. And then it's like Old Townish, I guess. And then I did one, I think it was Mesa Rim, but it was over in like Sereno Valley.
Right. Yeah.
So those two. I mean, like, it was dope. Like, it was cool, but it just whatever. It's just climbing. Like, for me, it didn't do it.
Okay.
And that's no hate, you know.
Yeah. No, I was curious because I looked at you. I'm like, I bet you. I would guess that you would actually have some skill as a climber or some natural ability from like your fighting, skateboarding, that kind of stuff. Because like, you probably have like good balance, good control of your body, and like you're skinnier. Like, it works really well for being a good rock climber. So, I mean, but if you're not that into it, like obviously, like
like I was saying earlier, dude, I like to fucking bang on people. Like, yeah. I want to hit you in the face. Not you. Like, you know, but like, I was just talking to somebody the other day about it. It's like, there's something like my teammates on like the Perusa fam, like the Perusa team. Like, I don't know. There's something to say about being able to strangle somebody and to like punch somebody in the face and, you know, give them body shots and almost, you know, sometimes take people down. And you're not trying to hurt your teammates because they're your teammates. But there's something to say about that bond that you have with somebody when you're like, you're squaring up with them, whether it's grappling or standing and striking. And it's like, you're able to figure out this very high consequence. You know, you could, you know, zig when you should have zagged, and like doing these things. And then, you know, like my friend Leov, like she has been there since day one in terms of my fighting stuff. I mean, I've been in martial arts my whole life, and like karate and taekwondo as a kid, which gave me the base. But to get into Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, she was my day one, you know? Mm-hmm. And sometimes like I've gone with her, and like since we have such a deep bond with that, like when we go against each other, it's more technical. It's like, hey, let's do this or do that.
Yeah.
But like, there's definitely been times where like yesterday she kicked me because she's getting ready for her Muay Thai fight. Dude, she fucking kicked me straight in the stomach. And it was just like, like instant. She's like, I'm sorry. I was like, no, don't apologize. That was good. I need that to happen. But then there's also been ones where like, you know, I'll catch her with a hook, like straight in the face. And I didn't mean to hit her, but she like walked right into it. Boom. And it was like square in the face. Wow. And it's like, at the end of it, you guys are able to talk about it and analyze it, and you're not mad at each other. And you have this bond because there's something about like strangling or fighting. It's just that you see somebody in their truest form.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that like might sound super weird and like it might not sound real to people who don't do it, but like especially when you're strangling somebody, when you get somebody to the point where they're like, or like, you know, you whatever, like you catch somebody in a triangle or an arm bar and like you hear the arm pop or you hear them gurgling or something like that. It's like, that's when you see somebody just like, I don't know how to describe it. Like just somebody in their truest form. And then even just banging on somebody to know that you're able to like, or even go against somebody who's bigger than you.
Right.
And you like, whoosh, boom, crack. And you just like, you hit them in the face and they're like, oh fuck. Or you drop somebody and it's like, to know that you have that in you and that you've overcome something that like, because most people think that they're fucking tough, you know? Like, and I will go out of my way to avoid a fight now. I will definitely not go out of my way to avoid a verbal confrontation, but like a physical confrontation, dude, no. Like, I don't want to fight with you because I don't know where you're at in period in life or whatever. And like most people don't know how to throw a fucking punch. But when you have that bond with your teammates that you know that they can bang or you know that they can like hold their own, it's just like, it's different. You know, it's not a surface level. It's more internal. And that I don't want to say like a wherewithal, but it's just.
I imagine you have like a connection with your teammates who you're training with, in order because like you guys push each other. And
exactly.
You guys get to see each other in a way that no one else sees. Like they could be. You see them in a way that like their spouse or their kids don't see each other or their parents don't see that person.
That's what I mean.
It's such a unique thing because like I don't think you guys you're training, so you're not pushing each other to like survival instinct, like clicking in and like, oh fuck, this guy's going to kill me. But you are pushing yourselves physically to like a level that 99% of people don't ever do.
But see, to that point where you're just saying that they're not going to kill me, yeah, I'm not going to kill you. But we're preparing you for the person who's going to be on the other side of you, who's going to try to kill you. Like, potentially. Because our team consists of MMA fighters, Muay Thai fighters, and jiu-jitsu practitioners. Mm-hmm. Jiu-jitsu, you're not going to get killed. Muay Thai, for the most part, you know, knock on wood, you know, there's always freak accidents. You can get kicked in the temple and you can fucking die.
Right.
Okay, it happens. But MMA, there's definitely a very real situation where like, yo, we can train and we're helping you train. You get in that fucking ring.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, I don't like, you know, it's for the all intents purposes, nobody's going to die, but you can get knocked out. You can get your teeth knocked out. You can get your fucking fractured orbitals. Real damage can happen to you. And you are helping prepare your teammates for that outcome. And you're there to support them and to be with them. And like, you, to your point is like Saturdays we have an all team training and it's fucking hard. And it's a very individual sport, but on that team training day, you are a team.
Right.
And you're helping push your teammates, whether it's the girls, whether it's the guys, whether it's the young kids or whatever, everybody who's going to be training to fighting, you guys are all going through it together and you're helping each other. And that's what's fucking dope. But at the end of the day, when you go over there and you're getting ready for your fight, it's you and that other motherfucker that's on the other side of you.
Yeah.
And you have to think, it's like, I'm going to hurt you. Like, I mean, there's some people who are like, no, I'm not trying to do that. But it's like, no, when you're getting in the fight, you got to hurt that other person because it's a very detrimental sport. Like, you don't want to hurt them in the sport, like and be a dick about it. But like, it's either me or you, bro.
Sure.
And that's at the end of the day. And like, very respect, of course. Like when I had my first fight, the dude in the middle of the fight, we were jabbing at each other. We were fucking talking shit. And he's like trying to fucking intimidate me. I'm like, I'm scared of you, fool. Like, what the fuck? Like, let's go. Let's bang. Like, I'll take a couple licks from you because like, whatever. But at the end of it, when your hand gets raised or not get raised, thank you. You thank your opponent. You thank your coaches. Like, hey, thank you for that because that was fucking amazing, dude. I love it. Like, you're jawing at each other, whatever. Fuck you. Blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like, unless it's real bad blood, like you see some shit in UFC, it's like, nah, son. It's just like, you just shared a moment with that person.
Sure. Yeah. I love combat sports. I love, UFC, jiu-jitsu, boxing. Did you watch the Fury
Fuck
Wilder? Oh my
yeah, I
God,
watched.
dude.
Did you?
Oh my God, dude.
Yes.
That was an insane fight, dude.
Dude.
Seeing those two massive human beings just going at it.
6'9" and 6'7", bro. What is that?
There was so many moments in that fight where I'm like, how do you stay standing after taking that punch? Like, oh my God, like that is insane. I have so much respect for combat athletes, doing any of that stuff, like just the training, going through it, and then actually stepping in and being like, all right, I'm testing myself one-on-one. Let's go. Like, let's see, like,
dude, that's what it is. It's a test against your own will. It's your test against yourself and pushing yourself. Cause like, dude, at the end of the day, my strongest belief, and it's not even about fighting. My strongest belief is, bro, like, nobody's getting out of this alive. Number one.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, I don't necessarily know if I believe in anything after this.
Right.
So, and I say necessarily, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in DMT. I believe in like the dump that happens in your head, for sure. Whether people call that heaven, maybe like it's helping you cope with what's going to happen afterwards. But regardless, like this body, this version of myself, like I don't want to refer to myself in the third person, so I'll just say this version of me is the one time I get.
Right.
Whether or not it's like a spirit and your soul lives on and whatever, cool. Maybe that it happens. Old souls, energies, whatever. I believe in that shit. That's fine. But this version of whatever is the one time I get at this. So why not get the most out of life? Challenge yourself, push yourself, do the unexpected, be unpredictable, and fucking enjoy every second of it. Because, dude, when it's game over, it's game over.
Right.
You don't know if it's going to be tonight. You don't know if it's going to be fucking 50 years from now.
Yeah. I would imagine that having that, I guess you'd have to have that confidence in going for it. When you go into a fight, I mean, like how that relates to like fighting is like being able to know, like, I'm giving it, like, if you give it all in your life and like you're going for it instead of like letting it come to you, like you have to have that in order to feel comfortable going to ring. Because like, I guess if you don't, how could you step into a ring?
I think it's also your coach, right? Like my coach, the training I had with my coach, I had like a personal, like I do like individual trainings with my coach, and then I have the team trainings. My coach, my last training, he says, I'm going to make you drown today. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but all right, let's go. And so like, I just trust my coach. And then so like we're hitting pads and then I'm gassing. He's like 5 kicks, 5 left kicks, 5 more left kicks. And it's like 5 right kicks. And it's like, you're just going and it's like, come on, 1, 2, 3, boom. Like, dude, do this, do the switch. And you're just like gassing. And he's like, you can't go. He's like, no, you fuck it. And then he'll hit you with the pad. Like, let's go.
Right.
And then in the middle of it, he's like, if you're drowning, they're drowning. And he's like, but what do? We're going to take them fucking deeper. So he's like, if you are feeling drowning, like they're feeling that. But who's showing it more? Who has more heart at the end of that day? So he's like, if you're drowning, take them even deeper into the deep end. And you fucking make it. Because this is what it's going to be in the fight. It's all out every single time. And even when I was in the fight, I didn't feel that. Like when we have, like, we do 3-minute rounds and we do 30-second rests. When we're in the fight, it's 2-minute rounds with a 1-minute rest. So it's like that first round, it's tough, but by the end of it, it's like, nah, son, let's go. It's just like, who's going to outdo the other? Like, are you dropping your hands? Are you like not kicking? Are you hesitating? Like, don't hesitate. Like, you don't do these things. Like, I don't know, bro. I heard one of my favorite people one time. His name's David Goggins. You know who David Goggins is? David Goggins, in one of the first like chapters of his book, he says, out of 100 people that go into war, 90 of them shouldn't be there. 10 of them are there to be soldiers, but only one of them is the warrior that is supposed to be there. That is the one that really should be representing all 100 of them. And that's all I think about. I just think like, yo, you got to be a warrior.
You got to be the warrior.
You got to be the warrior. Don't be one of the 10. You're definitely not one of the 90. You got to be the warrior. Because, everything you're doing, whether it's running a business, whether you're fucking stepping into that ring, whether you're going to get on a skateboard or you're going to, be somebody who's going to, be alone in life. Like I'm definitely like a lone wolf. Like I have a lot of homies and a lot of acquaintances, but at the end of the day, like I'm doing me, and I'm on my own, and that's fine. I'm not bummed on that.
Right.
But I definitely think about that is like there's this another thing. David Goggins is training with this dude Cameron Haynes, and he's like they're working out. Yeah, can't like nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah.
Another one that I have in my head all the time.
Yeah.
But then there's like when they met because of Joe Rogan, right? They're working out. They're fucking getting it. Cameron Haynes is getting tired. And then David Goggins is getting tired. And David Goggins is over here on like the incline press. And he's just fucking just pumping him out. And they're like, come on, David, get it. And he's like, they don't know me, son.
They don't know me.
They don't know me, son. And he's like, who's going to carry the boats?
Yeah.
And it's just like, he's just like, what? Like, why are you so scary? Like, for no reason. You're just lifting weights. But I think about that. And I think about like, damn, son, like, you got to talk about you can't talk about it, you got to be about it. And I've always said that from jump, like don't talk about it, be about it. If you're going to talk shit, back it up.
Yeah.
Like I had that, there's like one moment in my life that I remember I was talking shit to my friends and we were at Malibu High School and there was like this 8 stair that we were jumping down and they were like talking shit and I was talking mad shit and I was like, I could switch one of those stairs. When I was younger, I was super young and I was like, I could switch one of those stairs. Like, yo, you can't switch 180, no A stair. I was like, fuck that. I can do it. And they're like, you ain't never done switch 180. What do you ever switch 180? Dude, I swear to God, I'd maybe done like a 2 or 3 stair at that point. And I was just like, fucking do it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was just thinking I was all tough. And then, but I remember from early on is like, my parents always told me, like, you got to do what you say you're going to do. Don't talk about it, be about it. Like, all right. So I battled that shit for like 2 hours, but I did it.
Nice.
And it was like, talk all the shit you want, but if you ain't gonna back it up, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So that was what it was.
Yeah. I guess there's that's like the beauty of like athletics or anything like that, is how it relates to everything else in life and like how much, like if you're willing to push yourself in your fighting training, like having that attitude and taking it into your business or your relationship, your family, whatever it is to like battle to continue to like be the best. And that's why I love those guys. I love Goggins and Cameron Haynes. I love the values of out there creating your own destiny, working hard for it, and just like, bad stuff happens, and some of us are lucky in that not that bad of things have happened to us. But no matter what the level of adversity is, like you just have to keep going and like
always.
And yeah. I'm not the perfect example of it. I have of course like, moments where I'm like, you get down, you're like, what am I doing, But then like when you remember like, okay, this is why I'm working for. This is my goal in life. This is like my mission right now. And you just keep going. So yeah, those guys are great examples of that.
Dude, no, I couldn't agree more. And to that point, like, I'm not one, if you've never had adversity, like, hey, no shame in the game. Like, it just, it's whatever. Like you said, some of us are luckier than others, whatever. There's no woe is me. I don't give a fuck about, like, if somebody dies, like, people, I'm so sorry. Like, it's fine. That happens. I've had extreme situations. Mm-hmm. I've had 2 of my friends, 18, and when I was 18, within a couple months of each other, got murdered.
Oh, wow.
Nar.
Wow.
And that was heavy. It was very, very gnarly. And then I've lost, multiple family members. And then like just recently I lost my uncle like 3 weeks ago. And then just like a week ago, like, so 2 weeks apart, my uncle and my grandmother passed. But at no point do I feel like, woe is me? Do I put it on social media? Like, really, like, maybe I think I put my uncle thing, like, on a private, like, close friends, like, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm so brokenhearted, like, writing some fucking paragraphs. Like, nah, like, I keep it to myself. Sure. You do these things, you move on. Because, like, why do people going to worry about it? Like, this is, like, the one thing I keep reminding myself, nobody gets out of this alive.
Right.
Yo, when it's their time to go, it's their time to go. That's what it is. There's this one moment I was in Hawaii one time. My homie was like, we were sitting underneath these coconut trees. My one homie says to me, he's like, you're going to watch out for the coconuts and they be falling from the tree. They could hit you in the head and kill you. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, bro, look how big those coconuts are. And I was like, he's like, people die here from getting hit in a coconut. And I was like, for real? Like, you know, kind of like, oh shit. And so like, I move away from it. And my other homie, Sparky, he was sitting there. He's like, look, brah. Because he's a local boy out there. He's like, look, brah. If you get hit in the head with a coconut and you die, that's God's way of telling it's your time to go. And I was like, that's what I just think about all the time now, man. Like, till the wheels fall off, to whatever. You're just living it to the fullest, day in, day out. To your point, it was just like, with these physical things that I do, when I do coffee, there's no physical detriment to me.
Right.
It's all in my brain. It's all like me using my like science, like using these things inside of my brain to create something that is pleasurable to the masses.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like, yo, let's go. Let's push it to the limit, whether it's coffee, whether it's fighting, whether it's skateboarding, whether it's whatever is going to be next on that horizon. I don't know, but I'm fucking down. And let's go. And like, yo, if it's, like I said, if it's going to be 50 years old, if it's going to be 85 years old, if it's fucking whenever.
You don't know. I mean, I don't know, did you see what happened in Santee yesterday? A plane crash?
No.
Small plane, just imagine a 2-seater, 4-seater, something like that. Crashed in Santee, just a few blocks from the high school. Crashed into UPS truck and 2 houses.
What?
Pilot died and the UPS driver died. I don't know if anyone in the house died.
What?
But I was thinking about it, and it's obviously like a tragedy, you know. But like I was like thinking about it, and I'm almost like assigning a character to this UPS driver. Like, who was this guy? Like, because I think about it, I'm like, that guy probably didn't even see it coming. He probably didn't even know what happened. Like, if a plane crashes into your truck and just like plows through it, it looked like where his car was in the intersection. It looked like he was making a left turn, and just suddenly a plane crashes in his truck.
Oh my God.
And I was like thinking, like, it could just come like that, can it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and there's nothing he could do about that. There's nothing he could do. Like, and you go, okay, like, does this guy have a fulfilled life? Did he go for it? Like, was he out there working overtime for 20 straight years? Like, was he a young kid? Like, who knows? But it just like that kind of lesson like clicked into my head. Like, wow, if you're not going for it, like, you don't know when this thing ends, and whether there's something after it or not, who knows? Like, I'm in the same boat as you. I have no idea. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And it's something I struggle with sometimes. And I catch myself, I'm like, wow, I was a lazy fuck today. Like, I didn't do anything. I did some work. I did this. I did that. Like, how did I push forward? But stuff like that, like, reminds me. It's like it's a morbid lesson, obviously, you know. And I'm not trying to trivialize it, but it's just like what I took from it, watching that story, because I'm like, that stuff's crazy. Like, when that happens,
dude, it is. But like, again, to your point, I think people will forget you. Right. Not you specifically, but just like people will forget you. Yeah. It's the people. The one thing that's always stuck with me is like, how did you make people feel? And granted, because I have, you know, to tie it back to a conversation, like earlier in the conversation, like, I'm not afraid to tell people, you know, to go fuck off and do these things. So there's a rapper. His name's Young Dolph. I like him a lot. But he has this song, and I remember I was with my ex one time, and it was actually when we were getting divorced. And we were sitting in the car together, and she heard this song, and he was like, if I ever tell you I love you, I love you. If I ever tell you fuck you, then fuck you. For life. And she just looked at me, she was like, if there was ever a rap lyric that describes you best, she's like, I know why you like him now. Because at the end of the day, the people that I love and that are loyal to, I just gotten to a point now where, like, hey, I'll tell you you look good. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you you're looking fantastic. I'll tell you you're amazing. I'll tell you how much you're killing it today, because I want you to remember, like, if I were to never see you again, the last thing I said to you was how amazing you are, or how fucking much I loved you, or whatever. And that's not even like a romantic love. It's just like, I love you as a person.
Right.
But if I also, the same goes, it's like, if I told you fuck you, remember that shit. Remember that the last thing I said to you, son, fuck you. And that's okay with me, because I meant it, and I don't regret it, because I said it for a reason. And so I just think about that all the time. And I like every single day, like before I go to sleep. Yeah, maybe some days I'd be lazy, not a lot as of late, but I will run my day back like it's a movie in my head, and I'll think about things that, like, I guess it might be overanalyzing, overthinking about it, but it is like, even from like little interactions that I had, like, damn, this customer came in today when I was on bar and I was short with them. Got to be better tomorrow.
Right.
Got to let that go.
Right. Or
like, did that person really deserve for me to say fuck you? Oh, yeah, definitely. Fuck that guy. Okay, cool. And then, or it's like, I really wish I would have said that to that person. I'm going to make sure I say that again tomorrow,
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I don't know. It's just like, be the best version of yourself you can every day. Because at the end of the day, fuck, man. Like, you can get a chance. Sometimes you get lucky enough to say goodbye to the people that you love the most, and sometimes you don't.
Right.
And I really believe that, like, how they remember you and how you've made them feel is much more important than like social media or any other type of bullshit. Because like, you might be a dick to some dude across the street, but your mom and how your relationship with your moms was like, it was amazing. And you did so much for that person. And it's like, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, this conversation took a crazy turn. How did we get to this point?
I don't know. I'm very bad at small talk and shooting the shit. So I think most conversations I have usually end up in stuff like this. So
no, it's dope. I mean, like, I love it. But we went from like rock climbing and like your poker playing to like, we're talking about like our theories on life
philosophy, man. That was the point of coffee houses, though. When coffee houses first started in like Europe back in the day, it was like the place for like philosophy, the place for like discussion, debate, like politics, like that kind of stuff. So it kind of makes sense to do here.
I was gonna say, how fitting. We're in a coffee house at Steel Mill
Coffee. Yeah, so
dude, we're about to do 2 hours. Fuck.
That's a good number. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Let's wrap it up. Tell the people where they can find you, like Instagram, Twitters, wherever they can find you.
My Instagram is Extreme Green Team. I don't post a lot, but occasionally you'll see photos of my dog or rock climbing. And then business is ghost.roast. Yeah, I'm terrible at social media, so if you're looking for lots of content, you're not really gonna find it there. But it's the easiest way to find me.
Okay. Well, Matt, I want to say thank you again for coming on the show. It was definitely no shortage of like an amazing conversation.
Yeah, I had a great time.
Super stoked.
Yeah,
I'm glad you had a great time. And dude, shout out Siri Cimarron again.
Yes.
For planting that seed, because that was definitely because of her that like this all happened. But yeah, G, thank you so much. And I always tell everybody, once you've been on the show, it will definitely not be the last time you're on the show.
Awesome. Yeah.
Dude, fuck yeah.
I'm into it.
All right, G. Peace. Yes, thank you so much, Matt. That was an amazing conversation. And man, so unexpected. That guy is deep, bro. I love it. Matt, thank you again, brother. I appreciate your time today. And guys, I just want to say thank you to all of you around the world who continue to support Caffeine and Green week in and week out, whether it's listening to the podcast and spreading the word or purchasing coffee, getting that merch, whatever it is. I just want to say thank you guys all from around the world, from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate all y'all so much. And guys, head on over to www.caffeineandgreenroasting.com for all your caffeine and green needs, merch, coffee, whatever. You know what it is. Thank you guys again so much. And like that's another one in the bank, guys. So I will see y'all next week. And please, guys, be safe out there. Wear your mask, do whatever. But just take care of each other, show love. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Peace!